It's time to sit down and relax for the good, the bad, and the sequel Q&A with your host, Doug.
Hey there. So last week's sequel was a classic, Police Academy 6, City Under Siege. We could have done any of the sequels, to be honest, because they're all amazing. And as promised, this week I am interviewing someone who is involved in the film. And we got Proctor, the star of the film, Lance Kinsey, who played the innocent Barney Fife-ish lieutenant. He was just amazing to talk to, was in a lot of films throughout his career, and he was able to use what he learned from studying at Second City in Chicago to later go on to be a consultant on Whose Line Is It Anyway? He also had a comedy come out a few years ago called All Star. It's about girls softball, so think like Best in Show, the Christopher Guest type movies. So it's kind of filmed like that, and it's great. So the cast is amazing. I'll put the link to it so you could buy or rent it on Amazon. Trust me, it's worth it. Well, let's start the interview, and stay tuned after to hear the trailer for next week's sequel. Enjoy.
Oh, great. I can hear you.
Awesome, man. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm really excited to talk to you. I'm going to get that out of the way early because you're going to hear it throughout. And
thanks.
That's awesome, man.
So we don't have video capability, do we?
If you want, yeah.
I don't know how to do that.
It should be. Are you on a computer or?
Yeah.
So if you just move your mouse around a little bit, a little thing should pop up on the bottom, and it should have like mute on the left and then start video.
Oh, I see. Should I hit start video?
Yeah. I'm in my baby's room, so
that's cool. Wait, all right. I think I started it. Can you see me?
Yeah.
All right, wait, let me get rid of this thing. There you are. Hey,
we
man.
are live.
There we go.
And look what's right behind you.
Oh, yeah, this is my office.
The Police Academy 6.
This is my office. That's the only poster I have in here, actually. So, how old's your baby?
She is going to be 3 months on the 25th.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, Christmas baby.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, exciting.
Wow. First one?
First one.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, it's great. I work from home, so it's like perfect.
Very cool.
Yeah, man.
You do a podcast?
Yeah, so I've always loved like movie sequels and everything that has to go. I'm sure you probably are in the same boat. Like, I just some of them are just so fascinating to me. Whether it be the Police Academy series, how it seems like everyone it worked, most of the same people, and it was year after year, and it was something that actually worked. And then there was like a movie that we did for our first episode with Son in the Mask with Jamie Kennedy. Like that was like 11 years later after Jim Carrey's The Mask. And it was like, it really didn't connect too much. So it's funny how some sequels like get it and then other ones just want to put that name on it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, this really, I don't know. Have we started the podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, we're in it. Okay.
We're in it. We are in it.
This really had kind of a formula where, they understood what they had. They released Police Academy every year at spring break. For the kids.
Okay.
So they knew their audience was out of school, had time on their hands, and ready to see a movie. And every year we opened at number one, year after year after year after year. So they really knew what they were doing with that. And I do think they were smart bringing back the core group of people because we really got very close. And it was, I used to say it was like going to camp where you'd see your buddies again. And then there's the producer over there who's the camp counselor. And we got, very tight. It was really fun.
Yeah, no, it seems that way. And especially with comedic timing. I did a little research on you beforehand.
Yeah, that's my dog trying to get on my lap.
Oh, it's okay. My dogs are in the other room because they'll start barking. But yeah, so like comedic timing's huge. And it was cool. Like before I looked up everything on you, I was like, I bet you he has an improv background.
Right, yeah.
And that was so neat.
Yeah, yeah. I came from Second City in Chicago,
Yeah, that's amazing.
and that's where well, when I started out, I studied in college, and I wanted to be an actor.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Vanderbilt in
Oh,
Nashville.
nice. And you're from Ohio?
I'm from Cleveland, right?
So are you excited right now? Are you a Browns fan still?
Well, yeah, I'm very
Nice.
happy that Odell.
I'm a Giants fan, so I was pretty heartbroken. I have a Giants tattoo right on my arm.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Well, finally, we're trying to put something together. We'll see.
No, I'm happy.
Or not, but we've had our share of heartbreak too.
Yeah.
LeBron's out here in Lakerland.
I know.
They're not doing anything because he has no help. But,
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So I grew up in Cleveland, and I went down to school in Nashville and studied there, and then I did theater. I went to Actors Theater of Louisville for a year where I apprenticed, and then I went up to New York, and I'd always seen, like when I was a kid and I'd watch The Tonight Show, for instance, I'd see funny people on there, and a lot of them I noticed had something in common. And as they'd talk to Johnny, it would come out, oh, they were at Second City. So I thought, well, what is this Second City thing?
Yeah.
And I'd heard about it, and after I spent some time in New York and had no more money left, I went out on the road on a one-man show and made enough money to either go back to New York and just struggle, or go to a city that I thought might be a little more reasonable financially. It's not much, but a little bit. And I'd always heard of Second City, so I went there and started studying at Second City and joined the company.
Wow. So did you train under, who'd you take classes from? Del Close?
Del Close, yeah.
It's amazing.
Del was the man then. And there are a lot of other people, Josephine Forsberg and Stuart Pankin. But Del was he directed like half of the productions that I was in. Bernie Solins, who was the producer of the theater, directed the other half. And it was just a great time to be there.
Who else was there at that time? Any of the people that you were in class with, like, go on to do anything?
Yeah. In the company, when I was in the touring company, the company just before me was like George Wendt and Tim Kazurinsky. When Tim went to Saturday Night Live, I took his. I was his replacement in the company.
Oh, wow.
So and then my company was Jim Belushi and Danny Breen and Mary Gross. And a lot of people have done a lot of stuff. Dan Castellaneta was right after me.
Okay.
Homer Simpson.
Yeah.
A lot of people have done a lot of stuff.
That's awesome. So just going back, I know, what year was this in Chicago, like when you started Second City?
Let's see. I was in the touring company from 78 to 80, and then I was in the resident company from 80 to 83.
Okay.
I came out to Los Angeles in 1983.
All right. So sometimes these things aren't right, and I don't know how much you edit, like your IMDb, but it has your first credit as on a short-lived series called The Duke. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That was shot back in Chicago. I was still at I was still at Second City, and that was Robert Conrad.
Yeah, it was like an ex-cop that turned into a detective, I think it was.
Exactly. Yeah, and he, did you know who? You're probably too young to even know Robert Conrad.
It sounds familiar.
Bob Conrad, he was a guy. He used to do a series of commercials for, I think, Ever-Ready, where he put a battery.
Oh, the battery. Yeah. Oh, Robert Conrad was in Wild West, right? Wild West? Oh, yeah. Okay.
And he was a great guy. I mean, this guy, he was so loyal to his friends. I wasn't one of them. I mean, I was a kid. So, I just came in, but I saw how loyal he was to his friends. And he had guys, on his crew and staff and in the cast who'd been with him for years, Larry Minetti. And then there was another guy, I can't remember his name, but a football player that he had known that he put behind the bar in the bar scenes. He was like the bartender, but he was just a really good guy. And that was I was so excited, to be working with.
Oh, I bet.
Well, be working with anybody. But and Bob Conrad, he was so nice, and he actually, I don't know what he saw in me, but he pulled me aside and said, listen, I want you to coach some of these guys. Like I coached like the football player, just like acting stuff, but just to make it more natural and stuff. But I really appreciated that he had that confidence, and he kind of took me under his wing. He wouldn't remember any of this, I'm sure, but it made such a huge impact on me being that young and just starting out. I'll never forget how kind he was.
So that's like if there was Lance story, that would be the Lance Kinsey story. That would be it. That moment when Bob Conn, like, he didn't think he was probably doing anything really that maybe something he normally would do anyway.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe
and it gave you that confidence. You're like, wow.
That's the kind of guy he was. He was a really good guy.
Did you call home as soon as you were done that day? And
I'm sure I did.
Yeah.
I said, Mom, guess what? Guess who I was talking to? It was exciting.
That is really exciting. That's awesome. And then it has on there, I just go by what's on there. So anytime you have anything else you want to, bump into, and then we'll go back to the police academy, like in your life order. And then it has Chicago story.
Yeah, that was another really early one.
Yeah, look at the people that were in that. Dennis Franz, Craig T. Nelson.
Yeah, and I actually, I think I auditioned for a different role, and I didn't get that. I auditioned for, like, there was like a lead guest actor in it who was going to play like this young. He was like the brother, and I didn't get that. But they had me come back and play his brother. And this guy, my guy, was like, I think, mentally challenged. It was really a wonderful role. It was very dramatic and very emotional. That's the scenes I did. Unfortunately, I didn't work with Dennis. Was such a fan of his, but I knew him a little bit in Chicago because he was.
Oh, okay.
And that was a great opportunity too, and another exciting thing. It was small, but again, when you're starting out and you just have an opportunity. I remember the director was so good too. Jerry London was the director.
Oh, okay.
And he went on and did a lot of stuff, a lot of miniseries, and he was really good and really took his time. And again, I was coming from Second City, which was a totally different skill set.
Yeah.
Now I was kind of relying on my theater experience and the acting, the dramatic acting, which was really, really fun.
Yeah, and improv in a little bit. I took a few classes when I lived out in Portland, Oregon, but you still work with emotions too. So it's so great that you're able to just combine everything that you learned.
Right, absolutely.
That's great. And then you had a few small roles in Dr. Detroit.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, that was really fun.
And then Class with Rob Lowe. And I never heard of that movie. That movie seems pretty funny.
Oh, Class?
Yeah, I never seen it.
Yeah, you should check it out.
It seems funny. I read the synopsis on it. It looked pretty cool.
Yeah, it's Rob Lowe and Andrew McCarthy. And it was fun because those guys, this is what, I was in the company at Second City, and they would come and hang out. They were younger. And
okay.
They're like little puppy dogs. It was so cute and, so talented. Both of them, so talented. And but my scene, I only had one scene in that. But my scene, it was with Jacqueline Bisset. So I don't know if you know who she is. She's a beautiful.
Yeah. She plays the mom in it. Yeah.
She plays the mom, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like this guy in the bar who she came in and she kind of like, it ended up, I was doing something like doing shots or something and got stuff on my face, and she came over and wiped my face with her thumb, and that's what I called home about. So you're not going to believe what happened today. No, and it was great. Again, this is all in the beginning, and everything was just so freaking exciting.
Oh, definitely. And now the interview processes for those, they were just like open casting call and
Yeah, I think a lot of them were. There were a couple of them. Like I did a Cheech and Chong movie in Chicago, and I know that they came and saw the show at Second City,
oh wow,
and I got pulled in from that.
that's awesome.
You know, that was the wonderful thing. You had the advantage of actually having a little showcase that you know, if people were in town, a lot of times if people were casting, they would come and see the show. So at least they would, you know, they would know you a little bit when you walked in.
Yeah, was it as big back then? Improv was there like shows every night and a ton of people that were doing it?
It was huge. I mean, Second City was, as far as I was concerned, it was the place to be. I mean, there were
definitely.
There were for comedy, there were Chicago was a really hot theater town. And
yeah.
It still is. But then Steppenwolf was just starting out, so Malkovich and Sinise and all those guys were Jeff Perry and they were all just starting out Steppenwolf, and and then there was Victory Gardens and St. Nicholas Theater. All these little theaters were really thriving, and Second City was you know, a hotbed for comedy.
Yeah.
So, and that was before there were a lot of stand-up clubs there. I think there are now, Zanies and a whole bunch of stand-up clubs as well. But Second City was it, and it was packed every night. We did 8 shows a week, and it was just fantastic. The best training you could possibly have.
Yeah, I don't think the stand-up boom hit until, what was that, the late 80s, when there was a million of places open.
Right.
Yeah.
It hadn't happened yet then. For the stand-up clubs.
Yeah, and then next it has on there around the same time, you were an extra on an SNL sketch?
Well, yeah. I mean, what happened was we did a short film in Chicago. Jim Belushi did. John Davies was the director and producer, and I don't know who wrote it. It was called Sugar or Plane. Jim might have written it, and he had me. It was Jim and Rob Riley played ice cream scoopers in an ice cream store.
Oh, okay.
And I came in with my date, and we ordered ice cream, and it was a little short film. When Jim went to Saturday Night Live, he took the film with him, and it was on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, wow. Did you know it was coming?
I think he let me know.
Oh, okay. It's like you're watching it, and you're like hanging out, cracking a beer, and you're like, hey, that's me.
I'm on Saturday Night Live. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And then great. It's like, it seems like right after that, I don't know if there was anything else in between, but it seems like right after that, you landed Police Academy too.
Well, what happened was I came out here. After that, I did Things Are Tough All Over in Chicago too, which was the Cheech and Chong movie.
Oh, okay.
And then I got married in 1983, and that's when let's see. I got married. We got married in Detroit, and the whole company came up. We got married on a Monday, so that because the theater was dark on Monday.
Oh, okay.
The whole company could come to the wedding then.
That's awesome.
Everybody came up. Bernie, the owner of Second City, actually rented a a limo, and drove everybody out.
Wow.
It was a riot, and they all came up. Fred Kaz, who was the musical director there and pianist, he was there. My whole company, and after we got married, we did a show. Second City did a show in California, in Los Angeles, called The Best of Second City, and I was still in the company in Chicago, and everybody else who was in the show in Los Angeles had graduated. They were alumni.
Okay.
But they had me come out from the show, and I was in it also. And from that, I got an agent and a manager who came to see the show, and I got an agent and a manager, and they said, you should move out here. So I went back, got married, and we moved out after that in 1983, and that's when I auditioned for Police Academy. I actually auditioned for Police Academy 1 and didn't get it.
Oh, wow.
Backler.
Oh, for Fackler?
Yeah, and I didn't get it, and Bruce Mahler got it, and he was fantastic.
Yeah, he was.
And he was a stand-up, I think, before Police Academy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but he was perfect for it. And then for Police Academy 2, I came back in and auditioned for Proctor. And I remember Jerry Seinfeld and I had the same manager. And we both went in for the audition.
Jerry? That's amazing.
Yeah, that was before Seinfeld. And so I go in, and Jerry's in there in the waiting room of the casting office. And we're talking. Hey, you're in for Proctor too. Well, okay, good luck. And he gets called in, and he goes in, and I'm sitting there waiting. And then finally he comes out, and as he's walking by me, he leans down and he goes, "It's still available." He's walking out the door. It was so funny. He made me laugh so hard. And then I went in, and I had to go in several times actually, and they kept bringing me back, and finally I got it.
Do you remember in your audition, did you use because one of the great things about your character is the physical comedy, just how into it you get.
Yeah, I don't even really remember. I think I had that kind of innocence of Proctor.
Yeah, which is great.
I think I had that in the audition. I mean, I think I was kind of nebbishy, and I mean, the thing about Proctor is he's so supercilious and such a little kiss ass.
Yeah.
That, he's just up Harris, either Mauser or Harris's butt the whole time, but still wants to try to be tough, and yet still wants to be one of the guys. And it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But really, there's an innocent quality about him. I mean, he's naive and innocent. He reminds me of kind of like a Barney Fife, a classic. They're classic stereotypes kind of, and that's what Proctor was, or even like a Rose Nyland from Golden Girls.
Yeah.
That had that innocence where she just would say things and not understand the what she was saying half the time.
I'm sure when you were filming the movie, I'm sure it was probably just a lot of fun. Just with everyone in the cast, it just seems like, how could you not have that good of a time?
It was great. It really was fun. And and I mean, we knew we weren't doing Shakespeare.
Yeah.
But it was a blast. And I was really lucky. I got cast in 2, and Art Matrano G.W. Bailey had created the role of Captain Harris in 1.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not in 1. I'm in 2, and GW's not there now. I think he was off doing Mannequin or something. He wasn't.
Yeah, he was a Mannequin. Yeah, he was actually he was in a lot of big '80s movies. Mannequin,
a lot of them.
Short Circuit.
Yeah, one of those he made him unavailable.
Oh, okay.
So Art got cast, Art Matrano, and I had never met Art, and we went in together, on the set, meeting for the first time, and it was just really magic. I mean, we understood each other's timing. He was so funny, and we clicked. So that worked. And then we did 2 and 3 together. And then I don't know why, but Art wasn't available, or they brought GW back. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but all of a sudden, now Art's not there, and it's Police Academy 4, I think. Yeah, 4. And we're shooting up in Toronto, and I'd never met GW. And so I go out to the set. For some reason, now it's not Art, it's GW, but it's still Proctor as his sidekick. I didn't question it. I just said, okay, great.
Yeah.
And Art, and GW and I, the first scene we did in Police Academy 4, they drove us out to a riverbank in separate cars. I hadn't met him. And then we get out and, hi, this is GW. Oh, hi, this is Lance. Hi, how are you doing? Nice to meet you. And they threw us in a river. And we are going down the rapids. It's like the balloon that I shot out of the sky, the hot air balloon,
Yeah.
and crossed into the river. And we are being swept down the river in raging rapids. And downstream, way downstream, just before the waterfalls, they have like a rope strung across and stuntmen there in the water ready to try to grab us before we go over the thing. So we're hanging onto the gondola and racing down, and you bond very quickly with somebody. Yeah. And we did. And we've been best friends ever since then. I mean, he's one of my best friends today.
Wow, that's amazing that you don't meet a guy, you're shooting a scene, and you're in the films, you're his right-hand man. And you just get thrown into it. No, your chemistry is amazing. In Police Academy 6, because that's the one we chose. I like all of them, but for some reason I chose that one. And then going back, I'm like, you know why? I really love the formula in that one, because there's like 2 Police Academy formulas. The one is, you have all the comedy, you have the main characters, and then there's a bad guy for the last act.
Right.
And then I really, for some reason, the 6th one, was there a different writer for each of the films? Do you know offhand?
Not all of them, but some of them. Gene Quintano wrote, first Pat Proft and Neil Israel wrote 1.
Okay.
Gene Quintano wrote 2 and 3. And then he worked on some of the others as well. They would have him like script doctor and stuff. He was unbelievable, a great writer.
Yeah.
Gene wrote many, many, many movies, a lot of action movies and a lot of comedies, and directed. And then after Gene, there started to be different writers. And I think there was like a different writer for each one. And I think the writer for number 6, geez, I can't remember who that was now.
I could pull it up real quick. Yeah. The reason I asked is just the formula of that one. I think it's almost like half and half with the movies. They'd have like all you guys, and then the end be the bad guy. But with the 6th movie, with those 3, with the 3 robbers,
yeah,
they were almost like, it was like 3 Stooges mixed with like teenagers. And then you have the man behind the glass that was pulling all the strings, like shooting out their music, like their boombox, and they're just like playing around. And I don't know, it was like so comical, and it was great.
Yeah, no, it was fun. And and Ken Mars is in that one, and he's an iconic comedic actor too. He did, he was in what is it? The Producers, I think.
No, really?
Or no, Young Frankenstein. And I think one of the Mel Brooks, but he was a Mel Brooks guy.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, it's a great cast. It is. And GW and I, by that time, we could, we had our chemistry was so tight. We had our shorthand down. We really hardly had to talk to each other before a scene. We just jump into it.
Yeah, and you can see it, and you open the film. So I'm sure most actors do this after a while. You get the script. You're like, Proctor, where's Proctor? And then I'm sure for the 6th one, I don't know. I haven't watched the other ones in a little while, so I could be wrong. But it's not like. But you opened up the 6th movie. It was like the first act of the film. It's pretty much just you and Harris, you and GW, trying to get the crooks. Whether it be they rob right behind you and you're, sir, and he's like just trying to tell you. And I think that's just the funniest thing, just the timing with it, because it's so perfect.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, wasn't the opening in the office in the dark where we're going around the office with a flashlight? Is that it?
No, I thought it was.
What is it?
Was in the beginning? Oh no, was that the beginning when you guys are sitting right outside where they're gonna hit to rob?
Oh, maybe. I honestly, Doug,
oh, it's okay.
Blend in a little bit to me.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, if you talk about certain scenes, I can remember all the scenes. I'm not sure what movie they were in.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. When you do that many, no, I can understand that. But no, it's just classic. Your timing and just the way you work together. It was so great.
It was always a relief when I would look and see that we would have scenes together. I mean, I would just go, oh, this is going to be fun. And I love GW so much, and his timing is flawless, and he's a great actor also.
Yeah.
He happens to be just an incredible talent, and it was so much fun working with him. It just got really easy, and it's nice to have that. It doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, some of those serious actors are really good at comedic roles because they're pretty on point, like Leslie Nielsen, just
right. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
and just like those type of guys. And just think, I think it just ended last year, but GW was on Major Crimes. That show was on for, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 seasons. So
The Closer, which turned into Major Crimes, and forever. Yeah, and he was great in it.
Oh yeah. What was your take? Is there any of the films that you have more near and dear to your heart, or is it just all together?
Well, I mean, I love them all. I love 3 because we shot that in Toronto, and the first one I was in was 2. We were here in LA, so it was really fun to go on location.
Yeah,
I think we shot 3 and 4 in Toronto.
Toronto's beautiful.
And it was really fun shooting up there. The people were so great. The crews were great. And it was fun being on location with the group. I mean, talk about going away to camp.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. And 5 was really great too. Well, I remember 4. Yeah, 4, I was really nervous through the end of 4 because my wife was pregnant. We were shooting in November, and she was due on November 12th. And Jim Drake directed it. And I went to Jim and I said, listen, I'm a little nervous about this. If anything you could do to help me wrap by the 12th, I surely would appreciate it. And he did. He helped me. They kind of moved things around in the schedule and got me wrapped out. And I flew home. I kept talking to Nancy on the phone saying, just hang on, I'm hurrying. And it was our first child. So a lot of times, it can be a little later than the due date.
Yeah.
12th, I wrapped on the 12th and flew home, and she had the baby on the 14th.
Wow.
She did wait for me.
That's amazing.
And then I really love Police Academy 5 because we shot that down in Miami.
Yeah.
And that was great because my whole thing, my wife and my baby, my son, who is now 1, came down and and her family was down there, or her mom.
Oh, nice.
In Florida. So I had that whole family thing going on down there, and that was really fun. My son celebrated his first birthday there. I remember I have pictures of him on the set. They made a little Police Academy birthday cake for him.
That's awesome.
On Bubba's lap in a picture. It's great, and Janet Jones was holding him. It was really cute, really fun.
That's really awesome. How intimidating was that the first time you stood next to Bubba?
Oh, listen. Well, Bubba, he's a legend, first of all.
Oh, yeah.
Football legend. If you're any kind of a sports fan, know kill Bubba, kill.
Yes.
That was the cry that went up at Michigan State when he would walk out on the football field.
Yeah.
And this guy, we became very, very close friends. He was just a great guy. Huge, powerful, and a gentleman, a gentle giant.
Yeah.
But he could put on a front that you wouldn't want to mess with too. Like I'd walk in anywhere with Bubba. You don't have to worry if you're with Bubba. But he was such a good guy and so great to work with. So funny. He could tell football stories forever and just keep you enthralled. He was from Texas, a little town in Texas, exactly the same town GW was from. It's funny.
Oh, wow.
They went to, I think, different high schools, but I think they were the same. I think they were there at the same time. And
wow.
Janis Joplin was from that same little town and went to high school with GW. So, I mean, you're going, wow, this little itty bitty place made a lot of really fantastic people here.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Bubba was great, and he's the one. He actually got me working out. We went to the same gym. Well, actually, we would work out in different gyms wherever we were, in Toronto or in Miami, and I didn't know anything about working out, so I was on like Nautilus machines and pumping things and pushing things, and he would walk. Bubba walked by and he leaned down and go, "Les, you're just blowing smoke." And I go, "What? What do you mean?" And he started me on a workout that I still do today. I mean, with like free weights.
Oh, wow.
Don't do those machines, do the free weights. And I mean, I don't do what Bubba did. He could lift a freaking house.
Yeah.
And he'd tell me stories about, like, in the gym when he's like pressing ridiculous amounts of weight. He's telling me he never did this when he played football. When he played for the Colts, he said he never worked out. He never lifted weights. It was just a natural. They just were naturally fit, and I don't know. I think it's a different time then, maybe. Yeah. But he was gifted with that physical presence that he, I guess, didn't need to. But now he did, and later he did, and he could lift a house when I saw him.
Yeah, yeah, and it's whoever the casting director was for the first one really nailed it. Like, even his comedic timing for a guy that's supposed to be just like when they first looked at him, the big guy of the film, and like the scary big guy to be strong. Yeah. He's hilarious in the movies. And then even like a guy like how was Tackleberry when he wasn't Tackleberry?
How was he when he wasn't Tackleberry?
Yeah, because that character was so – it seemed like he was like one of those guys that were like stayed in character because he was always on. Yeah,
he was – no, David was I mean, he wasn't, thank goodness he wasn't always running around polishing his gun.
Good.
But, no, he was a good guy. He was good, but he was Tackleberry-ish, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, he was big and he probably would have chased a cat up a tree and then shot it out. He was, he was something. Yeah.
And then you had Michael Winslow.
Oh,
he must have been just, I don't know how you would not just laugh the whole time being with him.
Well, he was somebody, he really could, he did all those voices. He did them. And he would also practice them. So I remember one time I was walking down the stairs, and he was in a stairwell and kind of facing the wall as I'm rounding the corner, and he's like doing helicopter noises. And I'm going, geez, Michael, all right, okay, well, he's doing his thing and getting ready, I guess. But sometimes you'd be at lunch with him and go, Michael, pass the salt, and you go, just pass the salt, man, come on. No, he could do it. He was unbelievable. And he still does his act, I think, all over the world.
Yeah, yeah. No, he definitely tours around. I think I saw him, I don't know, it was a few years ago. He was coming into the city. I live in New Jersey, right outside New York City.
Where are you now?
In Jersey.
Oh, you're in Jersey. Okay.
Yeah.
He came into New York?
Yeah. I think I saw his name.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I know he plays overseas a lot, too. I think he's big in Australia.
Oh, yeah? That's awesome. So great. So Police Academy, that was more than enough.
Bobcat.
Oh, yeah.
Bobcat, he's such a good guy. And, here was a guy who always stayed in character for, like, interviews and stuff.
Yeah.
He's couldn't be a nicer guy. I mean, I remember my mom came down one time, and he came over, I think, to her apartment, or wherever we were staying, to the room or the apartment, and he was hanging out with us after dinner, and she just couldn't believe it because he was just this quiet, nice guy, and he was so sweet to her and nice. And, you know, no one had ever seen him like that.
Yeah.
He's that character. But he's a good guy and talk, you know, when I look at it, when I start breaking them down like this, it's unbelievable the talent they had. Because all these people are so talented. Bobcat's so talented. And I don't know if you followed his feature career. He's a writer-director of like independent features that you got to go back and check out. I mean, just go IMDb him and go look at some of his movies. They're freaking great.
I'll have to check it out. So then right after that was great, those stories. And then a few years later, you were in Loaded Weapon.
Yes, sir. Now that's Gene Quintano, who wrote Police Academy.
Oh, okay. He wrote that too. Okay.
He wrote and directed Loaded Weapon 1. That was the both of it.
Yeah.
It was National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1. And that was
great.
That was really fun to do. That was Emilio and Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
And that was another great. I thought, you know, that was really an underrated movie. I think. I mean that was a really good, funny parody movie.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people were in that. Kathy Ireland but Emilio was great in it, and of course Sam Jackson's great in everything.
Yeah.
Freaking everything.
That was like movie 20 of his 450.
Exactly. Yeah.
and then after that, you did some movies I never heard of, but I watched the trailers today that look hilarious.
Oh, really?
Club Fed.
Oh yeah. Club Fed.
Cast looked great.
Yeah, that was a very, you know, that another low budget, but it was fun to do, and you know, I don't even know if you can get it anymore.
I'm sure it's got to be somewhere. But Paulie
Shore?
No, Paulie from Rocky.
Oh yeah. Oh no, he was great. Yeah, there were some great people in there.
Yeah,
right. Alan Garfield too. But yeah, Paulie from Rocky. Karen Black was in it. Yeah, a lot of good people.
And why can't I think of his real name? George Jefferson.
Yeah. Sherman Hemsley.
Sherman Hemsley, yeah.
Right, and Judy Landers was my love interest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that I was like, I was so lucky for that. Again, you know, got cast and shot the whole movie. You know, we did it quickly, but Judy Landers was so delightful to work with. She was great. I don't know if you remember.
No.
The sisters, Judy and Audrey. Audrey Landers was kind of a more serious actress who was in Chorus Line, I remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, but they were beautiful, beautiful girls and women, and they were fun to work with, all of them. But yeah, Sherman Hemsley. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Silence of the Hams.
Yes, I did a very little thing in that, but that was
okay. I watched that trailer and I was like, how can I never hear? Even Mel Brooks had a cameo in it.
Yeah, and I did a scene that parodied Basic Instinct with Sharon Stone crossing and uncrossing her legs.
Yeah.
That scene. I did a parody.
Yeah, I saw that in the trailer. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was fun, and yeah, that was all these are a long time ago. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. No, some of these, I love, you know, Kentucky Fried Movie, like all these spoof movies are so great when they're done right. And then obviously in the last 20 years, there was a bunch of them that just came out that were just like, it seemed like they just like threw them at the, you know, date movie, disaster. Yeah, there was like a lot of those movies, but, and then with your improv background, Whose Line? How did that come about?
Oh, let's see. I know my friend Danny Breen, who was in my company at Second City. He was like a producer on it, and he called and asked if I wanted to jump on and be like a creative consultant for it. I said sure. So I came in and I did 3 seasons of that. And there were no writers for that. Because it was all improvised, and it truly was all improvised.
Oh yeah.
We would write all the suggestions. So coming from Second City, it was good. It was a good background to have, because you could kind of, you could write the suggestions in a way that you knew would be good to improvise.
Yeah.
And anything that Drew said was written too, or anything that was on the cards that he read from the cards. But that was really, an amazing show, because Ryan and Colin and Wayne are they're so good. They're such great improvisers.
Yeah.
And you do a music thing, and you can't beat Wayne Brady.
I know.
He could do any style, anybody. He would do like the Supremes and do all of them. And it was just unbelievable. And then Ryan and Colin, talk about chemistry. Those guys know each other so well and work so well together and are so hilarious. They're just the best, so that was great.
They've been doing it together since, when was the first Who's Line over in England?
Yeah.
93, 94?
Well, before that, they worked together at Second City in Toronto.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they knew each other from Second City.
Oh, wow.
So they've known each other a long time.
And that's the best thing about improv, and I'm sure you can agree with this, is when you do it, when it's over, there's no Monday. You can go back and obviously critique and coach and get notes, but what you just saw, you're never going to see again.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's ephemeral. It's like a bubble that you watch, and then poop, it pops, and you're left with the memory of that bubble.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's amazing.
It's a little magic. It's kind of, when it works, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now, it's painful when it doesn't work.
Yeah. I do like a little, because of the class that I took in Portland, and I love it. So I started like another podcast with me and my buddies. They never did improv, but I kind of coach them the best that I can from reading books by like Del Close and the UCB improviser, that manual. So
right.
So just doing that, when we're done recording, they're like, I don't even know what just happened. And then you go back and listen to it, and it's like just amazing because you just made something out of nothing. And like you said, it could be bad, but when it hits, when it's great, it's like just seamless.
It is. It's amazing.
So my next thing, what we're going to get into is, so when do you want to start writing?
Well, what I kind of realized later was that I had been writing at Second City. That's what we were doing.
Yeah.
I didn't look at it that way. And when I came out to LA, I just wanted to be an actor. That's all that's all my focus was. And what I've realized now is I should have been writing all along. So I didn't start writing until a little later. And then at one point I wrote a feature that won a screenwriting competition, and that gave me a little validation, kind of,
Oh, wow.
Encouragement. And
Which one was that?
but it hasn't been made yet. I'm still trying to get it made.
Oh, wow.
It had been optioned. It was optioned by a couple of times, and then came back to me. It wasn't made. But what it did do was it gave me a sample script, and from that I got my first writing assignment on a show. And I wrote for a show called Second Noah, which was an hour family drama on ABC.
Okay.
And that was a great experience. I was on staff, and so from then I kept writing after that, and I've done a number of things.
So how long did you have the idea for All Stars?
Oh, well, All Stars is a movie I did. That was a real love project, a real passion project. And it's because that's really my life. My daughter, when she was little, like 5, we started playing softball. I mean, and I had her in. There was a Santa Monica softball league here that was then the Bobby Sox, and she was in the minis, and you'd hit it off the tee, and they'd run it in clusters to the ball, and the runners would be running the wrong way or out into the field, and it was just the cutest thing. And then from there we just went all the way through rec ball, all the way up until, and I coached her all the way through. And then into club ball and travel ball, and ultimately she got recruited for college. She was very good.
Oh, wow.
But she worked at it. We did all the club stuff, and from that experience, I met all these parents. Parents and coaches and umpires. And it's just, I got to know and not only know, I was one of those sports parents who, and the movie is really, it's about All Stars is about a 10-year-old little girls softball team, but it's really about the parents. It's about the outrageous behavior of sports parents. And I had the idea. I knew when we were in the middle of it, this would be a great movie.
Oh yeah,
something, and so I knew that. And then I was such a fan of the Christopher Guest movies, like Best in Show.
Yeah.
And coming from Second City, I thought, well, geez, he does that so great. Why is he the only one who can do that, who can do these like mockumentaries? I know how to do that. I can do that too, I think. So, and so I knew how to do it as a movie that way, because that allowed me to a lot of things. It allowed me to shoot with multiple cameras, and I could do it quickly. I didn't have what Christopher Guest had, which was a bigger budget and the luxury of time. So I had to shoot it very quickly. But what I did have was I had a lot of contacts with the improv world. And so I knew I actually wrote the movie with about half the cast in mind. I wrote a role, the Fred Willard's role I wrote for him. Mike Haggerty's role I wrote for him, with them in mind.
Yeah.
And then and Richard Kind. Richard replaced me at Second City when I left.
Oh, wow.
And I knew, and I actually had just gone to see his play on Broadway before I did the movie. And I said, listen, Richard, he goes, what are you doing, Lance? What are you doing? And I said, well, I'm working on trying to find financing for a movie I want to do. And he goes, oh, that's great. And I said, well, if I can find the financing, I'd like you to take a look at it. He goes, whatever you want, I'm happy to do it. So when I got the financing, I called him and I said, Richard, I got it. I want you to do this dad in the movie. And he goes, send me the script. So I sent him the script and he goes, all right, I'll do it. That's fine. Well, I'll do it. And then I bring him in and I get a call from him, and after he gets the schedule, and he goes, what are you talking about? I have to do all these days. What are you talking about? I thought I was just going to do like a day. And I said, Richard, did you read the script? And he goes, what do you mean? I'm on vacation. I'm out here with my kids. I thought I was just going to do a day. And I said, no, I need you. And so he kind of grudgingly, he did it, and he was great at it.
Oh, he was.
He was so Richard, he's great. It starts with whatever you need to, what do you mean? How many days?
Jeff Garland tells a story. He was on Pete Holmes' podcast, and Pete asked him about like working with Richard, and Jeff Garland told about a story like after they shot for the day. He was like getting something to eat like offset, and he saw Richard across the street, and he was like, Richard, come over here. And he like almost acted like he didn't know him and shouted from across the street at him. Oh man, but that cast had the perfect parents. Like, I love Seth Morris. He's a great improviser.
Oh my gosh, great.
Yeah, him and Nicole Sullivan, like the parents, like going through Little League.
Perfect.
Like when I was growing up, they were the parents that, oh, my kid just wanted to play a sport. Oh, I have to get the expensive bat, and that was so great. And he took
their arc in the movie was they actually had a little arc where.
Oh yeah.
At first they just wanted their daughter to have a good time. And
Yeah.
Just she can make friends and it'll be social. It'll be wonderful. And then they get caught up in it, and by the end of it, they are so freaking competitive.
Yeah.
Funny, and they just played it so beautifully. They're both great in it.
Oh yeah, when he takes the bat from you, I didn't pay $300 for him to take grounders.
Yeah.
That's great. And now the whole time, how long was the shoot?
We shot the whole thing in 16 days.
Wow.
Yeah, 16 days. It was very quick. But again, I had such great improvisers.
Yeah.
Mary Lynn Raskub, Angela Kinsey from The Office.
Yeah, she's great.
Oh my gosh.
Sam Richardson, that's great that he was in it. He's hilarious. I love him.
Sam Richardson, he's another Second City guy. Molly Erdman. Molly is a Second City gal. She was from Second City and just such a great improviser. She's so good. And I knew she'd be great for it. She's another one that I brought in early before I even had the financing and said, Molly, I want you to do this role. I have a role that I'm writing with you in mind. I hope you can do it. And she did it. And actually, she was pregnant, and she called me and said, I want to do it. So when I finally had the financing, I called her and said, okay, this is it. Because before she said, sure, I'd love to. I said, this is it. We're ready to go. And she goes, oh, geez, listen, I totally understand if you don't want to use me now, but I'm pregnant and I should go. And I thought about it. I hadn't written it that way.
Yeah.
I thought, well, these are kids and sports and a sports parent. Well, there's no reason you can't be pregnant. So sure. And so she came in and she was pregnant. And then Jenica was pregnant too. And I hadn't written in her pregnant either. So all of a sudden I have all these pregnant women in the movie, but it works perfectly for the movie.
Oh yeah.
And Molly is just, a spectacular improviser.
Yeah. No, the whole cast was, especially, like you said before, you were able to do it in 16 days. So you needed people that are ready to work and go on the fly and not be.
Well, that's it. I needed people with that skill set. And everybody I brought in, I had that conversation with them and explained that because the little girls who are in the movie aren't actresses. They're actual softball players.
Oh, cool.
Or they all had different degrees of ability.
Yeah.
But they actually played softball in the Santa Monica League. And
oh, awesome.
Not every girl at that level is a great softball player, but I wanted that.
Yeah.
But it was more important to me that they know how to play softball than they know how to act, because I didn't have time to teach them softball. But what I did want to do is shoot it in such a way, almost like a reality show, so that they would just forget the cameras and just act naturally. And I wanted them to treat me as their coach and their actors as their parents, and I told the actors when we met, I said, what we're going to do is you treat them as your kids. And whenever you're on set, think that be in character and be dealing with them as if you are their parents, because I'm going to have cameras everywhere and you don't know what I'm going to use, because I'm going to do it all in the editing room. And I want you to deal with them realistically so that they will not even think about being in a movie. And that's what I tried to do. Although the little girls, they knew the cameras were there and they kept coming up to me and going, are we just shooting the movie now? And, I'm going, just forget it. But they were all great. The little girls were fantastic. And it's really a funny movie. I hope everybody sees it.
Oh, no, I loved it. It was great. Richard Kind with his daughter.
Huh?
Richard Kind
yeah.
and his chart, and he's just sitting in the chair. He's like,
that comes from a real guy. I knew this guy who was the stats guy on our team, and he kept stats for everybody. And Richard he owned it. He came in and he was so good. He was so good as the stats guy. And Richard brought his own stuff to it. I mean, for some reason, he had the hat and the sunglasses, and he insisted on a cigar. And I said, well, I don't want you lighting the cigar. And he goes, I don't need to light it. I don't need it. I'll just use a cigar. That's fine. And he had a cigar the whole time. Well, it's just these affectations that really work.
I love that his wife was never seen and didn't come out of the house.
Never saw her.
Yeah.
Never saw her. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, that was, again, from life, where the same stats guy, I never saw his wife. I always knew that she never came to the game. She never came to a practice. Did he do something to him? What's going on? But nobody asked, and that's just who he was.
That's amazing. Now, when you wrote the script, did you have a line that said famous actor, or did you always have John Goodman in mind?
No. Well, what I did was when I first wrote it, I don't think John even knows this, but when I first wrote it, I wrote in the script, it said George Clooney, and in parentheses, or the biggest star I can get. And I didn't know George Clooney. I don't know George Clooney, but it was that idea that I wanted. I wanted a movie star, So I know John, though. John and I did dinner theater together before we ever did anything.
Oh, wow.
Dinner theater together back in Ohio. And I had called John early and said, way early, months before, and said, listen, John, I'm going to do this thing, and I'd love it if you'd, check it out. I'm going to send you the script, check it out, and tell me what you think. And he emailed me back and said, Lance, you got gold here. And I said, oh, thanks so much. I'm glad you like it. And then I hit him with it. I said, I'd love you to do the thing. He goes, oh, well, when are you doing it? I told him when I was doing it. And he said, I would love to. I can't. I'm shooting something else. I can't do it. I have a commitment in New York. Whatever. I can't, I'm not available. And I said, oh, okay, thanks. Well, anyway, thanks. And we were coming down, and now we started to shoot, and I still didn't have anybody committed to it. Wow. I had nobody. And somehow I just kept having faith that something would happen. And we were out in the third day of shooting, and I never turned my phone on because I'm directing it.
Yeah.
And I have the phone in my pocket, and we're between takes, and I feel my phone vibrate, and I pull it out, and I see John Goodman. And I hit it, and I say, hello. I said, John, I hope you're calling me to tell me you can do this. And he goes, well, listen, I can do it if you could shoot it on Friday. And we had such a tight schedule that I had the whole schedule blocked out. Everything was blocked out, and we had his role was shooting on Saturday, and I could not move it. I couldn't move it because I had different locations.
Yeah.
And I'm on the phone, and I think about it for a second. I go, okay, we'll move it. And I couldn't, but we did. We moved things, even though we had to remake deals with the field that we didn't really have it that day. But and he came in, and he was fantastic. He was there the whole day. His agent said, you can only have him for 3 hours. And I said, okay. Nope, I'll get him in and out. And I had the crew on alert saying, listen, we've got to shoot him and get him out, turn the cameras around. We're going to shoot this way, get him, shoot all over him. And then we've got to release him. I'm not going to, screw him over because I promised his agent. So he comes in, and I go, listen, John, I know you have to be out, like by noon. And he goes, what are you talking about? And I go, well, your agent said. He goes, oh, forget that. He goes, however long. And he hung out the whole day. He's such a mensch. He's one of the best guys in the world. I can't say enough about him. And he saved my bacon. He came in and did that.
Yeah, that was so cool. It was such a great ending. You didn't go with the happy ending. It was so great.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, but yeah. You're right. No, a lot of people would say, I thought it was good. I thought she's going to hit that home run.
I know.
It's going to be like Bad News Bear. And I go, yeah, and they go, and I did a lot of, what do you call them? We did a lot of screenings before, at film festivals. We did a lot of film festival circuit. And we do Q&As afterwards, and a lot of questions would come in. Did you ever think about having her actually be the hero and hit the ball? And I said, never. I never considered it, because I played the sport and I know how it turns out. And this is real life.
Yes.
It's much more realistic this way.
Definitely. Especially in baseball, if you're a 300 hitter, you fail 70% of the time. So that does make a lot of sense.
And that little girl was not a 300 hitter.
She wasn't even a hitter.
No, she wasn't a one hitter.
I know, and I love her character too, because that was a kid I had every year on Little League. A kid that had like a mysterious illness that would never come, or just a kid that would just show up for like
flute lessons.
Yeah, flute lessons. Oh man. Well, Lance, this was so much fun.
Oh, thanks, Doug, man. I'm glad you found me.
Lance was so amazing, just so much fun. Could you imagine if Jerry Seinfeld played Proctor? I couldn't imagine Jerry doing that, but maybe that's why he didn't get the part. And his wedding sounded so epic. Everyone from Second City, it must have been a blast. Again, go to Amazon, watch All Star. Trust me, you'll enjoy it. I'll put the link in the episode notes. You got Fred Willard, Miriam Flynn, Mike Haggerty, Seth Morris, Nicole Sullivan, Angela Kinsey, Richard Kind. And right now you're probably like, man, I don't know those people. I don't know the names. But trust me, when you see them, along with the rest of the cast, you're going to be like, oh, I know those people. They're hilarious. All right, so now it's time to listen to the trailer for next week's sequel.
$10 million for the microchip, Mr. Beaupre.
We will find it. Their mission is deadly.
Has to be on a plane.
We are going to Chicago.
Their technology is state-of-the-art.
There are 26 miners in the 14 houses we haven't checked.
Their strategy is unheard of.
We're gonna work houses in broad daylight.
It's the suburbs. Nobody's home during the day.
They've got the perfect plan.
That's the house. Tomorrow we hit.
He's got the chicken pox.
What?
And he's home alone.
Nobody's gonna do anything about this. I'll just have to do it myself.
I'll go in the front.
Heads up! Ouch. Hi. Surprise.
I'm coming down.
From John Hughes, the writer and producer of Home Alone.
See ya.
This Christmas, staying home will become an adventure again. Home Alone 3.
Wait till you see what I do next.
Written by John Hughes, directed by Raja Gosnell.
We went with Home Alone 3. Home Alone 2, you got Trump, letting a little kid walk around the city by himself. Just a little much. But no, John Hughes really reinvented his films. He wrote the first one, the second one. So the third one, he really upped the ante. So I remember as a kid, I was 11 at the time. I really enjoyed the movie. And I'm going to go back and watch it again. So, yeah, this is a really fun one to do. And for the first time, we actually have 2 actors that we interviewed. So you have 2 actors telling their tales from their set and their career. But, yeah, so next week, Home Alone 3. Watch it. You can find it pretty much anywhere. And we'll review it and make you guys laugh. All right. Well, thanks again for listening. We appreciate it. Don't forget to review, rate, and share our podcast. Write us a review. Pretty please. It helps us out. And follow us on Twitter at Sequels Only. Good night.